Welcome back to the deep dive. Today's going to be a little different.
Yeah, it's definitely a pivot from our usual.
Usually you know the drill. We grab a stack of books or maybe some dense scientific papers, and we try to boil it all down for you. We look for the signal and the noise.
Right, we deal in facts, hard data, tangible things you can measure.
Exactly. But today, we are looking at a movie. Or I should say, we're looking at an argument about a movie. A really compelling and honestly kind of terrifying argument.
It claims this specific movie isn't actually a movie at all.
Right.
Which sounds pretentious at first, but when you dig into the evidence that our source material provides, it's hard to see it any other way. We are talking about Stanley Kubrick's final film, Eyes Wide Shut.
From 1999, with
Him-
Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. The hype around this movie was just insane at the time. I remember seeing the posters everywhere.
It was inescapable.
And it has this established reputation. If you stop someone on the street today and ask them what Eyes Wide Shut is about, what do they say? They say it's about a jealous husband.
Or a steamy erotic thriller. Something about a secret sex cult.
Exactly. That is the pop culture osmosis version. People view it as a psychodrama about a marriage in crisis. But the source material we are diving into today completely flips that narrative.
We are working off an article titled Eyes Wide Shut, A Ritual Exposure of the Hidden Order. It's by an author writing under the initials M.S.R. and published by Criterion Press and the Axis of Truth.
And M.S.R. argues that the whole jealousy plot is just a Trojan horse.
Precisely.
I was reading through the source material last night, and I actually had trouble sleeping, because the premise here is that Kubrick wasn't telling a story. He wasn't trying to entertain you or me. The author calls the film a redacted confession.
A ritual document disguised as cinema, that's the phrase that really anchors this whole analysis.
My heavy phrase.
It is. The core thesis we're going to explore is that Kubrick was engaging in disclosure. He was using the medium of a major Hollywood film to expose a hidden system of power.
Not metaphorically.
No, not metaphorically. Literally. The source suggests the film is a warning label on a very real hidden system.
So just to set the expectations for you listening right now, we are not going to be analyzing standard plot points. We aren't reviewing the chemistry between the actors or debating if the pacing was too slow.
We are looking at what the source calls the architecture of inversion.
Right. We want to know why this movie feels so strange, why the acting feels wooden and the lighting is so dreamlike. According to this source, it's all intentional. It's a code designed to bypass the censors of our own minds.
And we are going to cover some really dark territory. We have to talk about the difference between the spark and the sparkless, the mechanics of elite power.
And the missing footage.
Yes, the theory regarding the missing footage and the fate of the child in the film, Helena.
It changes everything. It completely shifts the experience from watching a marital drama to reading a survival manual. So let's start at the beginning. To understand this analysis, we need to look through a specific lens. The source introduces these two terms right away, the spark and the sparkless.
This is the foundational concept. If you want to understand M.S.R's argument, you have to drop the idea that Bill Harford...
That's Tom Cruise's character.
Right. You have to drop the idea that he is just a wealthy doctor having a bad night. The source defines Bill as spark-bearing.
Spark-bearing, meaning he has a soul.
Essentially, yes. He represents humanity. He is flawed and confused and naive, but he possesses an inner resonance.
Yeah.
He has a biological and spiritual connection to the living world. He feels things deeply.
Even if he doesn't fully understand what he's feeling.
Exactly.
So Bill is the avatar for us, the human spirit.
Correct. Now you have to look at the environment he enters. The parties at the Ziegler Mansion, the secret society, the elite circles of New York. The source argues that this entire environment is calibrated exclusively for the sparkless.
I love that phrase, but it is so creepy. Calibrated for the sparkless. It sounds like a piece of engineering.
Because it is engineering. Think of it like this. Imagine a room designed entirely for ghosts or for highly advanced AI machines. Everything in that room, the air pressure, the lighting, the social cues, it is all set to a specific frequency that sustains them. Not us. It's a synthetic reality, efficient and cold and precise.
And then a living, breathing person just walks right in, like a living person walking into a room designed for ghosts. The chemistry is going to be wrong immediately.
Exactly. A biological entity walks into a synthetic system, the air feels too thin, the gravity feels off. And the source argues that this is exactly why Tom Cruise's performance is so often criticized as being stiff or awkward.
Yes. I've always thought that.
Uh-huh.
He looks like a deer in headlights for 2.5 hours. Just
Yes.
wanders around looking completely out of his depth, like he's in the wrong genre of movie.
The source says that is the point. It isn't bad acting. That is the inversion. Bill is out of place because he's the only real thing in a room full of simulations. This system he encounters doesn't rule through open force. It rules through ritual and frequency and containment.
So it's not just that he's socially awkward at these rich people parties. It's that he is metaphysically incompatible with the room he's standing in.
Precisely. And this incompatibility triggers the system. When we watch Bill wandering through New York for those 48 hours, getting into all these weird, sketchy situations, the source says those aren't just random strokes of bad luck.
It's not just one of those nights.
No. The article describes those encounters as probes.
Probes. That sounds incredibly invasive, like medical probe.
Or like a diagnostic test on a machine. You apply pressure to specific points to see where the cracks are. The source argues that the moment Bill's emotional equilibrium is disturbed, the system begins to probe him.
And his equilibrium gets shattered early on, right? When his wife Alice confesses her sexual fantasies to him.
Yes, she tells him she would have thrown away their entire life for a naval officer she met for 5 minutes. She dismantles his entire concept of his marriage and his own manhood in just a few minutes of dialogue.
And he completely spirals.
He spirals. His defenses drop. You could say his vibrational shield is lowered. And the hidden order notices this frequency change.
It sees a crack in the armor.
And it immediately tests that crack. The prostitute he meets. Domino. The creepy shop owner. The bullying college kids on the street who shove him. These aren't just random New York encounters meant to build atmosphere.
Right.
The source calls them checks to see if his inner alignment can be fractured. Temptation and coincidence are weaponized.
So the city itself turns into a gauntlet for him.
It forces him into a liminal psychological state, a state between waking and dreaming. And once he is in that liminal state, he becomes visible to the entities that actually run the show. The source makes a really profound point here that we need to highlight. It says the system tolerates curiosity, but it destroys disruption.
Tolerates curiosity but destroys disruption. That is a massive distinction. We should unpack that.
Well, curiosity is passive. You can watch, you can look at the system. In fact, the system actually enjoys being watched to a degree. It feeds on that energy.
But disruption?
Disruption is when you try to change the outcome. Disruption is when you bring your own agency into their script.
So Bill thinks he's just wandering around. Maybe he's looking for revenge on his wife or looking for a thrill, but he's actually walking through a minefield designed to measure his soul's frequency. If he breaks, he's useful. If he resists, he's a problem.
Exactly. And this idea of frequency keeps coming up in the text. It is so crucial to understanding the film. It's not about visual recognition.
That's the thing that always confused me about the movie. He goes to the mansion. He wears the mask. He wears the cloak. He looks exactly like everyone else there.
Yeah.
So how do they know he doesn't belong?
That is the critical unlock for the second act. The source argues that the system reads essence, not faces. And we have to reevaluate the Somerton Mansion scene with this in mind.
The masked ball. The password Fidelio. This is the most iconic part of the movie. And the standard interpretation is that this is where the masters of the universe party. This is the Illuminati or whatever you want to call them.
And M.S.R. says no, that is a misinterpretation, a completely fatal one.
Really? Because it looks pretty powerful. The setting is incredibly opulent.
The source asserts that the masked ball is not where ultimate power resides. It calls the mansion a delegated ritual space.
Delegated. Like middle management.
In a cosmic sense, yes.
Yeah.
Middle management. The article describes the participants, the people in the cloaks, as instruments or hybrid figures. They look human, but they operate without inner resonance.
They are proxies.
Exactly.
So who is actually in charge then?
The true fireborn, the actual elites, the entities or people at the very top of the pyramid. And the chilling part is that they don't even appear in the film.
They don't need to.
Right. They have built a machine that runs itself. They constructed a system that performs itself through these proxies.
That makes the whole scenario almost scarier.
Yeah.
Bill isn't even meeting the final boss. He's just encountering the algorithm that runs the software.
Exactly. That's why the atmosphere in that house is so cold. Have you noticed that about the orgy scenes? They are famous for being explicit, but are they sexy?
Not at all. It's entirely clinical. It's almost like watching a medical procedure or a factory assembly line. Everyone is moving so precisely. There's no passion, there's no messiness that you associate with actual human intimacy.
The source nails this. It says sex in this context is extraction and energy release. It's not eroticism, it's mechanics.
So it's a function.
It functions to feed something external. It leaves the participant spiritually depleted. It's a transaction of energy, not a union.
So Bill walks into this extraction machine, and remember, he's the spark. He's the only one there with a soul. He's the only one feeling fear and confusion and human lust.
Which is exactly why he gets caught.
Right, let's unpack the detection. Because the narrative surface explanation is that he gets caught because he doesn't know the second password.
Ooh.
He uses Fidelio to get in the front door, but then inside, they ask for the house password, and he freezes.
But look closer at the sequence of events. The source points out a specific moment before he has ever asked for the password. He enters the main ritual room. He's wearing the disguise. But a masked figure, the red cloak, nods at him.
I remember that nod. It's very subtle. Just a slight tilt of the head from across the room.
Most people view that as a greeting. The source interprets it as a confirmation of an anomaly. It's a signal being passed through the network. Target acquired.
Because the system reads frequency, not faces.
Exactly. Bill causes discord simply by existing in that space.
Because he's vibrating at a different pitch.
He has a soul in a soulless room. It's like bringing a powerful magnet into a room full of compasses. You can hide the magnet under a piece of cloth, but the needles are still going to spin. You cannot mask a frequency.
That is a fantastic analogy. The mask conceals his flesh, but it does absolutely nothing to hide his essence.
Precisely. And regarding that second password, the source makes a fascinating argument. It wasn't a test of knowledge. It was a vibrational channel.
A vibrational challenge. What does that mean exactly?
It means that even if Bill knew the word, even if someone had slipped him a note saying the password is power or silence, he couldn't speak it correctly. He wasn't keyed to the system.
He couldn't hit the right note.
Right. There was no password he could have said that would have saved him because his very presence was the error. The question wasn't, what is the password? The question was, are you one of us? And his soul shouted, no.
So he failed the alignment test before he even opened his mouth.
He did. And then comes the sacrificial intervention. The mysterious woman who warns him to leave and then later steps in to redeem him. If everyone else in that house is a hollow instrument, then what is she?
Yeah, she seems very different. She seems genuinely terrified for him.
The source describes her as occupying a liminal position. She's part of the system, she's deeply embedded in the ritual, but she has a residual flicker of conscience. She isn't fully gone yet, so she breaks protocol to warn him.
And she pays for it with her life.
She does. And notice the language the source uses here. Her death is corrective. It seals the breach. It restores equilibrium.
The very mechanical view of murder.
Very. She wasn't killed out of anger or passion. She was deleted like a corrupted file to protect the integrity of the system. The system tolerates curiosity but destroys disruption. She disrupted the ritual by saving him, so she had to be removed.
That really reinforces the idea of this hidden order as a machine. Societies have laws and emotions and messy crimes. Machines just have errors and automated corrections.
And this machine has other defense mechanisms we need to talk about. The source spends some time analyzing what it calls the NPCs of the Matrix.
NPCs, non-player characters. I was surprised to see the source use a gaming term like that.
Well, it uses the concept perfectly. It focuses heavily on the hotel clerk character. Do you remember the scene where Bill goes to the hotel the next day to find out what happened to the woman?
Oh, man, yes. That clerk is so deeply unsettling. He is smiling way too much. He's incredibly unhelpful, but he acts like he's being the most helpful person in the world. It's a very uncomfortable scene to watch.
It is, and the source confirms your observation. It calls this a destabilization tactic. The clerk is described as a hollow body animated by script rather than soul.
So his purpose isn't actually to be a hotel clerk.
No. His purpose is to weaken Bill's boundaries through emotional disorientation.
It's basically structural gaslighting.
That's exactly what it is. By acting in a way that is almost human but slightly off, living in the uncanny valley, he forces Bill to question his own perception of reality. Bill is thinking, am I crazy? Is this guy mocking me? Or is he just a weird guy?
He exhausts him. Like when you're talking to an automated customer service bot that keeps apologizing but refuses to solve your problem, you just start losing your mind.
And an exhausted subject is a vulnerable subject. That is the goal, to make the spark doubt itself, to wear it down.
Which brings us to another layer of control, what the source calls cinematic spells.
This is fascinating.
It is. The idea that Kubrick wasn't just filming a cool-looking set, He was creating a frequency trap for the audience, too.
Yes. This is where Kubrick's technical mastery is allegedly being used for incredibly dark purposes. The soundtrack is the primary example the source gives. Specifically, the music during the mansion ritual.
That chanting. It's deep and guttural, and it just gets under your skin.
It's a Romanian Orthodox chant,
Yeah.
but the crucial detail is that it's played backwards.
Backwards. I had no idea about that.
It is, and the source argues this isn't just to make the scene feel spooky, it is an act of frequency manipulation. In occult traditions, reversing sacred sound is a classic technique for blasphemy and inversion.
So it's actively reversing the holy into the profane.
Yes. It is designed to disorient and bind the participants into a unified vibrational field.
Meaning that while we, the audience, are sitting in our living rooms, we are effectively listening to a spell.
According to M.S.R, we are experiencing a sonic inversion. The music is designed to suppress the spark and amplify compliance. It makes you feel small, confused, and submissive. It bypasses the logical parts of your brain and hits the nervous system directly.
Which perfectly mirrors how Bill feels in that room. He's paralyzed.
He is. And it's not just sonic spells, there are visual spells too. The source points to the rainbow motif, which is everywhere in this movie.
Right. The rainbow fashion shop. The constant Christmas lights in the background of almost every scene. And there's that line the model says to Bill, where the rainbow ends.
Exactly. The source argues the rainbow signals the transition into the inverted realm. The rainbow is where light bends. It marks the crossing of the threshold where normal rules of physics and morality just dissolve.
So when you see a rainbow in this film, you are leaving reality and entering the simulation.
And then there are the physical altars of this realm. The red pool table in Ziegler's apartment.
The confrontation scene at the end of the movie.
Right.
Ziegler, the billionaire who invited Bill to the first party, calls him into his billiard room.
Yeah.
And he just calmly explains everything away. He says it was all a charade, a fake out to scare Bill. And he's so smooth and convincing.
The source describes that red pool table as an altar. It represents how power truly operates in this system. It's a velvet surface, the exact color of blood. And Ziegler is leaning over it, delivering incredibly calm threats while pretending to be a friend.
He tells Bill the woman was just a junkie who overdosed, that nobody was murdered. It's the ultimate gaslight. He's looking Bill in the eye and saying, don't believe your own eyes. Believe the system.
And the tragic part is Bill's reaction. He wants to believe it so badly.
He does.
He is desperate to believe he didn't just witness a ritual sacrifice. The velvet altar offers him an exit ramp. Just accept the lie and you can go back to your comfortable life. Go back to sleep.
But before we can fully go back to sleep, this system delivers one final intimate violation. The mask on the pillow.
The ultimate jump scare.
Look.
Bill comes home thinking it's over. He enters his own bedroom, and the mask he lost, the one he was supposed to have returned, is sitting right there on the pillow next to his sleeping wife.
It's terrifying because logically it's impossible. How did it get past the locked doors?
The source calls this a statement of total violation. It's not just a threat. It is a message that the boundary between the hidden order and his private life is completely gone. The system has entered the home.
It has marked his family.
Right. It's saying we can get to you anywhere. We can get to you while you are most vulnerable. While you sleep, it dissolves any illusion of sanctuary.
Which leads us directly into the most controversial and honestly the most disturbing part of this entire deep dive. The section the source calls the redacted confession.
This is where M.S.R moves from analyzing what is in the film to analyzing what is conspicuously missing from it.
We have to talk about the timing of Kubrick's death.
We do. Stanley Kubrick died just 6 days after screening the final cut of Eyes Wide Shut for the studio executives.
6 days. That timing has fueled so many conspiracy theories over the years.
Of course. But the source takes a specific angle on this. It treats the film itself as a dead man's switch.
A dead man's switch. Meaning what exactly in this context?
Meaning Kubrick knew the material was highly dangerous. So he encoded the confession deeply into the symbolism and the structure. He made it dense enough that even if the studio cut parts of it, the core truth would still survive for anyone paying attention.
And the source argues that they did cut parts of it.
It cites reports that there are 20 to 30 minutes of missing footage that were excised after he died.
20 to 30 minutes is a massive amount of screen time. A standard dialogue scene is maybe 2 or 3 minutes. 20 minutes is an entire narrative subplot completely erased.
It changes the entire context of the film. The source argues that the fractured structure we see in the released version, the missing continuity in certain scenes, those aren't artistic choices, they are scars. Scars of censorship.
So the argument is that the original complete film was far more explicit and dangerous to the hidden order it depicted.
Yes.
Explicit in what way, though? What could possibly be more dangerous than showing the secret society ritual we already saw?
This brings us to the core of the source's darkest theory, the implication of child sacrifice.
Okay, let's walk through this carefully. Because the movie ends in a way that most people think is a happy ending, or at least a hopeful one. Bill and Alice are in a toy store. They are shopping for Christmas presents with their daughter, Helena.
Right.
They have this very pragmatic conversation, and they agree to go home and quote-unquote fuck as a way to heal their marriage. It seems like they survived the ordeal.
The standard critical view is that it is a cynical but ultimately happy ending about the realities of marriage. But the source views this scene completely differently. It calls the toy store sequence a ritualized exchange.
Exchange of what?
Of their daughter, of Helena.
And it's just horrific.
It is the darkest part of this deep dive. But we need to look at the visual evidence the source provides to back this up. It says, don't look at the parents in that scene. Look at the child. Physically, what is happening with Helena in that toy store?
She's looking at toys. She seems happy.
But look at her positioning relative to Bill and Alice.
Yeah.
As the parents are talking, she moves away from them. She walks toward a display, a circle of stuffed tigers.
She drifts away.
She is visually separated from the spark-bearing parents. And in the background of that shot, you really have to pause the film to catch the blocking here. But the source notes there are two men in suits.
Two men in suits inside a brightly lit toy store.
Yes. They are conspicuously present. They are carefully framed in the background. They aren't looking at toys. They are watching.
I've seen this movie multiple times, and I never noticed those men.
Kubrick was an absolute master of composition. Nothing is ever in his frame by accident. If there are two men in suits carefully watching a child drift away from her parents in the final shot of his final film, they are there for a reason.
So the source argues these men are there to collect.
To collect the payment. The theory is that Bill and Alice survive. They get to keep their lives. They get to go back to their comfortable upper-class apartment. But the ultimate cost of seeing the ritual and surviving it is what the source calls the unspoken bargain.
They must surrender their daughter to the parasitical system.
That is the argument.
And when you listen to the parents' dialogue in that scene, with this theory in mind, it does sound incredibly hollow.
It's purely procedural. They say things like, what do we do now? We should go home. We should be grateful.
They aren't talking like traumatized parents who just narrowly escaped a death cult and are desperate to protect their child.
No. They are talking like people who have conceded something essential. They are emotionally dissociated. The source says they have made the trade. They accepted the terms of their survival.
Is there anything else in the film that supports this? Because leaping from two extras in the background to child sacrifice is a massive jump.
The source points to earlier scenes as foreshadowing, specifically the scenes at the Rainbow Fashions shop.
The shop where Bill rents his cloak and mask, owned by that creepy guy Millich.
Right. Remember what happens when Bill first goes there? Millie catches his own underage daughter in a compromising situation with two older men in the back room.
I remember. He is furious. He yells at them and locks the door. He acts like a protective, outraged father.
But then later, when Bill returns to the shop to give the costume back, what is the situation?
The two men are still there.
Yeah.
But Millich has completely calmed down. He's actually negotiating with them.
Exactly. It's a transaction.
Oh, wow. You're right. It is explicitly a transaction involving the sexual exploitation of a minor. The father's initial outrage was purely a performance for Bill. Once the doors were closed, the deal was real.
And notice Bill's reaction to this horror playing out right in front of him.
He completely ignores it. He just wants to return his mask and get his deposit money back so he can go home.
He stays in his lane. He sees the absolute worst kind of exploitation, and he looks away because it's not his immediate problem. The source argues this is not a throwaway subplot. It is crucial foreshadowing.
It signals that Bill has touched the world of the elites, and the masks extends directly to the commodification of children.
It establishes the rules of the hidden order. Everything is for sale. Everyone is an instrument, even the kids.
And there's also that very brief shot earlier in the film of Bill watching Helena sleep in her bed.
Yes. The source notes that the framing of that shot is filled with unease and impending loss. The camera lingers on her innocence, but it doesn't feel warm or parental. It feels like a predator watching prey. It feels like a goodbye.
So synthesizing all this, the source's contention is that the missing 20 to 30 minutes of footage might have made this child exchange far more explicit.
That is the core claim, that the gaps in the film actually speak louder than the images left behind. The silence around Helena's ultimate fate is the loudest statement the redacted film makes.
The film exposes ritual abuse sustained by an organized and highly protected system. And the literal fractures, the jarring edits, and missing continuity, those are the physical evidence of censorship.
It completely changes the meaning of the title, doesn't it? Eyes Wide Shut.
It really does. We, the audience and the characters in the movie, we are all watching with our eyes wide open, but we are completely shut to the horrifying reality of what is actually happening right in front of us.
Just like Bill and Alice in the toy store. We see the pretty Christmas lights, we see the toys, but we ignore the suited men in the background.
We focus on the provocative final line of dialogue, and we completely ignore the child walking away into the circle of tigers.
Which brings us to the ultimate synthesis of M.S.R's article. What does this all mean for us? Why would Kubrick dedicate his final years to making this? If he knew it was so dangerous to expose this hidden order, why do it?
The source suggests it was an act of disclosure that borders on martyrdom. Kubrick's intent was to leave a message for the future. He knew he couldn't show everything directly, or he knew they would simply cut it if he did so. He encoded the truth in glances and omissions and unresolved symbols.
He trusted the audience.
He trusted that those with eyes to see would understand what was removed. He created a brilliant puzzle that reveals the exact shape of the monster by outlining its shadow.
The film is a mirror.
A mirror held up to our own world of silent bargains. The core takeaway is that the spark, the human soul, is the only thing that cannot be synthetically manufactured. And therefore the system hates it. The system seeks to contain it, to extract energy from it, or to corrupt it entirely.
And we have to remember that Bill does not win.
No, he doesn't. Bill survives. And there's a massive difference between winning and surviving. He survives only by submitting. He accepts Ziegler's lie at the pool table. He accepts the redacted version of reality because it's easier. He goes back to sleep.
And that is the true tragedy of the film.
It's a warning.
You know, usually when we finish one of these deep dives, I feel smarter. Or at least more informed. Today, I just feel heavy. I feel like I've been told a very dark secret that I wasn't supposed to hear.
That is the nature of real disclosure, isn't it? It is not meant to be comfortable. It is meant to be transformative. Once you understand the architecture of the inversion, you really can't unsee it. You start seeing hollow bodies and delegated ritual spaces in your own everyday life.
So for everyone listening right now, next time you see Eyes Wide Shut popping up on your streaming queue, maybe don't just put it on the background while you scroll on your phone. Watch the edges of the frame. Listen to the background sound. Look at the extras who aren't saying anything.
And ask yourself, what is the film really testing? Is it testing Bill Harford? Or is it testing you?
That is the ultimate question. The source asks us to reconsider the title itself as a challenge. If the film is a test of frequency, and the missing footage contained the explicit truth about the cost of elite power, specifically regarding the commodification of children, are we, the audience, also being tested?
Do we accept the redacted version of reality simply to maintain our own comfort? Do we choose to believe the official story because the alternative, looking at the hidden order, is just too terrifying?
Are we all just parents standing in the toy store staring at the bright, shiny Christmas lights, trying desperately to ignore the men in suits standing right behind our kids?
It is an incredibly provocative thought, and is one that is going to linger long after the screen goes black.
Well, on that slightly terrifying note, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the hidden order of Eyes Wide Shut. It has been quite a trip.
A ritual journey, one might say.
Exactly. Thanks for exploring it with us. Keep your eyes open.
Wide open. We'll catch you next time.